Hello, and welcome to an all-new episode of Press YYZ. We're the only Canadian gaming podcast that you can catch live on Twitch every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, or at least we hope so, as well as podcast services and YouTube every Thursday. My name's Nathan. You guys know who I am. This week, I'm joined by Kozi. Kozi, you've had a bit of an extended absence. How are you doing?
It's good to be back. Hard to believe, but it's good to be back. And I'm partially saying that because I actually got a good 8 hours night of sleep before this, and I'm not dead tired, but it is genuinely good to be back.
Okay, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. And then we've got my political comrade, AJ. How are you doing, AJ?
Uh-oh.
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 Oh.
I muted my microphone.
Oh, hey, I was like, oh no.
Glad that it was only a
podcast,
temporary thing.
If you're going to do a podcast, it helps if your microphone is not muted.
I've heard that. That's like the one important thing of the podcast.
It might be the most important. Go figure.
Yep. So, all right. Well, if you were making quippy things, we didn't hear what you said. So.
Oh yeah. I would just said I'm glad to be joined by you on the right side of history, and then I was going to follow it up by saying, by right I mean left, and go from there.
Yes. Okay. I understand. Yeah. No, I think we had a great discussion last week. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, we got political, which we don't normally do, but I think we had a good discussion, and we got some good feedback on the episode. So.
Yeah. Speaking of feedback, I apparently had said that the election is on the 21st. It is actually on the 20th. That's a Monday.
Yeah. And depending on where you are, you might be able to vote for it as early as this weekend. So check your mail and get to it.
I got my mail cards already.
I received my thing in the mail today, and I might consider doing that early voting thing.
So my wife's actually going to be working the election.
Ooh.
She got a call yesterday if she would like to take the job, even though she didn't apply for it this year. She applied last time they did the election. They called her this time. So yeah, she has to go see HR and get signed up tomorrow, and then do some training. But she's going to work the whole election day.
Awesome.
So, yeah. Anyways, so good for her. Okay, so. Tonight's topic of the show, just to give everybody a heads up, I don't know if you guys are aware, but tomorrow we have a PlayStation showcase. What's the actual name of it? Is it the PlayStation 5 showcase?
Yeah, like the September 2021 PlayStation showcase.
PlayStation shows you D's nuggets of good games. What?
I thought you were going to say D's nuts. PS5 PlayStation showcase.
Never.
PlayStation Showcase 2021. That's the official name from PlayStation's website, or from the PlayStation blog by Sid Schumann. PlayStation Showcase 2021. So I expect this will be a yearly thing. It's not a state of play. It's going to be a much more beefier thing, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. So I'm excited about that. That being said, we've been without Kozi for several weeks now, and I need to know, how many platinum trophies did you achieve while you were on hiatus?
A lot, man. I think I'm not 1,000% certain of this number, even as I scroll through my PSN profile, but I'm pretty certain that it was at least 13, I want to say.
You left off at Avengers?
So Avengers, that was the last platinum trophy I got before I took my break.
Yeah.
I got that one.
That's the last one I remember you getting.
I got the double Avengers Platinums on August 16th. Then August 21st, I get the Platinum for Foxyland 2.
I heard that's a hard one.
Oh, man. August 24th, I got the Platinum for Maquette. That one,
I also have that Platinum.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a sec. August 24th, I also got the Platinum for Legends of Talia Arcadia on the PlayStation 5. And then August 25th, I got the Platinum for Legends of Talia Arcadia for the PlayStation 4. Then
5 minutes?
Yeah. Like I said, real hard games we're dealing with here.
Okay.
Then August 26th, got the Platinum for both Burly Men at Sea and Foxyland 2 for the PlayStation Vita. And now, finally, at long last, an actual legit difficult platinum. The platinum for God of War 2005, specifically for the PlayStation Vita. I thought that I had all of the God of War platinums, but I had missed the fact that I'd never gotten the platinums for the first 2 games on the Vita. Still have God of War 2 to take care of at some point. Then August 30th, I got the platinum trophy for the EU version of Blind Men, which is a visual novel. August 31st, I got the platinum trophy for Bonfire, which is a VR game. And then September 3rd, I got the platinum trophy for Forma.8, which is a Metroidvania platformer. And I've not gotten any more platinum trophies since. However, I am chipping away at Moss, Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory, and the PlayStation 3 version of Batman Arkham Asylum, amongst other games.
Arkham Asylum has challenge missions synced to the platinum. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Am I remembering that right? It's been a while.
I feel like we're kind of starting in reverse here, but yeah. So way back in the day, I beat Batman Arkham Asylum on the PlayStation 3 for the first time in 2015. I really enjoyed it at the time. Looking back on it in retrospect, that's probably one of my favorite games for the PlayStation 3. But I was deterred from getting the platinum because it was one of those games where you have to play through the game again on hard mode. And I'd already gone through and gotten all 240 Riddler trophies and done everything you need to do in the game. So I was not really in the mood to do that, nor was I in the mood to do the challenge room stuff. However, another podcast I'm listening to at the moment decided to do Batman Arkham Asylum as like a video game book club thing for the month of September. So I decided, you know what? Let's dust off my old PlayStation 3 copy, boot up my save, and let's go ahead and grab that platinum. And I've not ventured quite so far enough in the game yet to have too much else to say other than that it's still quite good. It's rare that you have a game like Batman Arkham Asylum come along where it feels like every aspect of the experience is really kind of quite well refined. It has really good stealth, it has really good hand-to-hand combat, real great Metroidvania-esque puzzle solving and exploration. We all know this. We all know that the Arkham games are great.
It's the best of the Arkham trilogy, in my opinion.
If you can believe it, this is also still the only game in the Arkham series that I've played.
Whoa.
Yep. Never played another one.
Okay, so Arkham City's worth playing. I don't love Arkham Knight. No?
Yeah, Arkham Knight.
There's also
Arkham
the
Knight.
one in between them that was made by
Origins.
Origins, yeah.
Origins, yeah.
Yeah, I never played that one. It's apparently got a wicked boss fight against Deadshot.
Yeah.
Or Deathstroke, one of the two. That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about Moss. I want to hear about Moss because I love Moss.
Yeah, Moss, another VR game that I purchased quite some time ago, but have not been to in quite some time. Moss is real fun. Very similar setup to Astrobot Rescue Mission in that you're a giant that is sort of controlling and manipulating the world around the main protagonist, who is a mouse that is not called Moss. Her name is something else. Quill. There we go. It's
like Star-Lord.
Yeah. I don't know that I would say that I love it as much as Astrobot Rescue Mission, but it's a real charming game, and platinuming this game is going to be interesting because to beat it, you have to complete it without ever dying. But it is also very short, so I'm certain that I can probably pull it off.
Okay. No, that's good. I'm very curious about book 2 for when book 2 hits for Moss. I really like Moss. I didn't like it enough to try and get through without dying because I feel like I would spend a lot of time hitting my head against the screen. But no, okay. Sorry, I'm picking and choosing from your list here.
Yeah,
Kozi. Sure.
You don't have to ask me about every single Foxyland experience that I had.
No, and I get that. So let's jump over to actually Maquette. We've both platinum Maquette. What do you think of Maquette? Maquette.
I'm just gonna keep saying Maquette over and over. Maquette might be one of the greatest examples in recent memory of one of the coolest like video game concepts that I ever experienced, that I thought the execution just wasn't quite there. I thought that like the idea that like you exist within this maquette, which itself contains a much smaller maquette, which itself is encircled by a much bigger maquette, and it kind of continues ad infinitum, was really, really cool. I thought that there were some really neat kind of mind-bending moments in it where you're like taking an object in the smaller version of the maquette, and that influences its position in the bigger maquette that you're running around in. But I just found the puzzles to be just a little bit too much on the obtuse side. And I will say, like, I did make a genuine valiant effort to play through as much of this game without consulting a guide. Mm-hmm. It being an easy platinum was a factor in me choosing to play it, but I did not play it like I was like just playing it to platinum it. I did give it a fair shot. And yeah, I just felt like there were a few too many moments in the game where it felt like I was less solving puzzles and more trying to kind of psychoanalyze what the developer would want me to do.
There's a specific puzzle with a staircase, and how you have to make the staircase work. That's terrible.
Yeah, that was it was certainly something.
Now I will recommend Kozi, because there's a game that does this and did it years ago that does it much better, and it's in VR.
Have we talked about this game before? Because it's ringing a bell, but I don't remember what it's called.
The Fisherman's Tale.
Oh,
I probably brought it up when I played Maquette the first time. And literally you're in this room, and when you look out the windows, in the room that you're in is a cabin, like on the table in the middle. And then when you look out the windows, you see like a larger version of the cabin. And like you start by pulling off the roof on the cabin, like in the middle of the room that you touch, and then the roof gets pulled off the one you're on. And it does all of this, but it does it in VR, and it's really, really good. I never felt the puzzles were so obtuse like this game I did. So
I'll definitely have to give that one a shot. I part of the reason why I came back to both Astrobot Rescue Mission and Moss like a few months from each other is because I really felt like I hadn't used my PSVR unit quite as much as I should have, given the amount of money that I paid for it. And so I'm definitely on the lookout for like other VR experiences to get the most out of the system before the eventual successor arrives. So I'll definitely consider that.
Yeah, A Fisherman's Tale, I put it on like my top list of PSVR games. I think it's like $10. So, yeah. Okay, so, all right. So we've talked about Maquette. We are very on the line there in terms of where you are. You know what? I'm going to jump over to AJ, and then we're going to come back to you, okay?
Yeah, sure. Trust me, okay. I've got games for days to talk about. No need to rush me.
So I don't have a good segue into No Man's Sky. I heard that there are open frontiers in Maquette. So tell me about the frontiers update in No Man's Sky.
Yeah, No Man's Sky has yet another free update.
How do they keep doing this?
I don't know. Maybe it's all this Game Pass money now, because that's where I've been playing it now. Despite my preferred way of playing No Man's Sky being in VR, right? I don't have a PS5, and I can't exactly do that at the moment. In a way that looks or feels all that good, but
yeah.
So on Game Pass on the Series X, I the weather's getting colder, and I needed a space heater in here, so that's what I'm doing. I have a bad habit of anytime there's a new big update like this, and I think I'm playing this game wrong. I feel like I need to start the game over again. As you can see here on screen,
did you break the game?
I glitched through the world there after writing. Like, this game is not overly broken or anything by any means. But sometimes fun shit happens like that. You're riding 1 minute, you're riding this weird creature, and the next you're glitching through the world, and after that, you're flying into space. But what I end up doing is I end up creating a new save with every new update because I want to start fresh. I want to get into it big time, right? And then I'll play for about 20, 30 hours again, all over again, all the beginning stuff, and barely touch any of the new stuff that happens. So I think this time with this save in particular, I'm going to make it a point to try not to do that anymore, to just try and play the update. I played around a little bit with the new, it's not base building, but there are little settlements now and little cities that can develop naturally, procedurally, if you will, on just about any planet. And so, I joined up with one of those, effectively became the mayor, a la Animal Crossing, and I'm doing all these chores for for the villagers as you do, and whatnot. I just once again also got my freighter ship to try and help. There's a bunch of upgrades you can give to your character and stuff as you go. So I knocked out all the really good, some of the really good money making early ones as quickly as I possibly could, and then I went from there. But yeah, No Man's Sky is still good. It's on Game Pass. If you haven't played it or are looking to get back into it, there's no reason not to.
Still haven't played it. I should try it at some point.
It's actually it became good 2, maybe 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's when the big new update, like they fixed it, they added the multiplayer, all that sort of stuff happened.
Yep.
And then every update after that, they've like continued to add new features and like you can stumble across a derelict, decommissioned frigate ship out in the middle of space. It's been taken over, and it that part of it acts like a horror movie. Or you can develop a base underwater and combat like abyssal horrors and stuff underneath underneath the waters on a planet or whatever. And even still, like you can just explore, and like that's the biggest part of it. Actually, this new save that I started, it actually randomly spawned me in a system and on planets that have already been discovered by somebody else, right?
Okay.
And I realized that this person, like myself, was also following at that point in time the galactic path. And so in one of the solar systems that I went to, they missed a planet. And so I got to name one planet in this solar system that they had already claimed, uploaded, and named and cannot be changed, to their username, Can Ligma. And I'm pretty happy about that.
Cool.
Hopefully they see it. It says that they discovered that system 3 years ago, so I don't think they're going to be back anytime soon. But
that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Well, it's good to hear No Man's Sky keeps getting better and better. I like Sean Murray, and I know No Man's Sky did not launch well, but I'm glad to hear it's had a good resurgence. Not
to put my console biases out in the wild, much like we did our political biases last week, but I feel like a lot of the issue with No Man's Sky originally came from PlayStation. Yes, Sean Murray and everybody had a lot to play at the launch of that game, where they overpromised and underdelivered what it would be. But then, when they originally announced the game to when it came out, it was 3 years. And if they needed 5 years before it became proper good, if you will, then I think PlayStation, who was heavily funding and marketing that game, should have allowed for that time, right? They should have funded it accordingly. Like here's what we're promising we can do, and we can get there, but then they had to release it, and we'll never know the particulars of why or how, but
I will say too, PlayStation, for all the bad things that happens with PlayStation, trust me, PlayStation makes mistakes. They make them all the time, especially right now. I will say they tend to give their studios a bit of carte blanche and time.
We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah. So if they need to push things back, they usually do so. I'm surprised to hear that. I know, like, I always go back to his interview that he did on Colbert talking about the game.
Yeah.
And that was just him talking about it. And none of that stuff was ready at launch.
No.
That's the stuff that took like 2 years to get into the game.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And like, that's the thing. That stuff's now in the game. So all that stuff he somehow figured and kind of knew and was excited about that it was possible. Right. But it just wasn't ready. And
it wasn't ready to launch.
Yeah. It's a good game now. Everybody should play it. Well,
hey, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Okay, cool. I'm going to jump over to a game, then we'll come back to Kozi. So I've been. We'll do this one quick, and we'll spend a little more time on the next one. We'll talk Splitgate first, because we talked Splitgate last week. I'm still enjoying Splitgate and have been in it every day. Have you played it, Kozi?
No, that was not a game that I played over break, unfortunately.
So if you would, I would potentially give it a try. It's a very fun game.
I remember, Kozi, before we took the break, I was showing some of the clips that I had posted, and you seemed very intrigued by it. So you should give it a shot. Before Halo Infinite comes out, give it a shot.
That's all right. Well, now that I have a deadline, effectively, I know that I've got to hustle if I am interested in this. So I'll keep that in mind.
Also, use my referral code.
Okay.
or mine, whatever.
Okay.
I want that cool skin with the TV head. Anyways, so yeah, no, Splitgate's still fun. Although, I don't want to say I'm losing my time with it. I've invested in the battle pass, but I don't know how much more time I'm going to continue to put into it. We'll see. I'm enjoying it. Just other things are pulling me now. So I think I maybe went too hard on this too quickly, which I'm prone to do. But Splitgate's still good, still fun, still love the portals. I'm more and more curious to get my hands on Halo Infinite's multiplayer down the line and play with you guys, because I think we will have a good time. I think this is a good primer for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, I hope it has portals, which I don't think it will.
You never know.
Sorry, can I do a segue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of a primer for Halo Infinite, Kozi.
Yeah.
That's your segue into Halo 3.
You've been playing any Halo?
I have. Funny that you should ask that, AJ, because just this past night, I was playing a little bit of that Halo 3 over on twitch.tv/PressYYZ. Don't know if you've heard of that channel. Halo 3. Thus far, I'm only a few chapters in, so my thoughts are, as of yet, still forming and molding and coming into place. I think that gameplay-wise, mechanically, it's definitely the best feeling Halo game by far. The game lacks the kind of glossy cutscenes that Halo 2 Anniversary Edition had, but in a way, I kind of prefer... It's less that I prefer the cutscenes of Halo 3 more and more that I appreciate the kind of consistency of style between the cutscenes of Halo 3 and the actual gameplay of Halo 3, whereas it could be a little bit jarring to go from Halo 2's really glossy cutscenes and then into actual gameplay.
The original release of Halo 2, which you also could have played through in the Master Chief Collection, you could have, if you press the back button or whatever it is on these new controllers, to go back to the old graphics, the old cutscenes would play, and it was very much similar. So,
One thing I will say thus far, and I don't want this to come across as me being overly critical, because I'm still very early on in the game, but I will say the game definitely feels like it's moving at much more leisurely of a pace in terms of plot compared to the first two Halo games. When I think back to Combat Evolved or 2, it felt like each chapter you were kind of really like hustling and bustling across the galaxy and doing something completely different from the prior chapter. This one, we've been kind of making our way towards the climactic showdown in what is less of a sprint and more of a marathon, which is that a Halo reference? Did I just make a Halo reference accidentally?
You made a Bungie reference, marathon.
Right. There we go.
Yeah.
But I am, like I said, I am only a few chapters into the game, so I'll have to play through the entirety of the experience to give a proper assessment.
Gotcha. It having just recently played through Halo 3 this year, like I was actually like I played on and off like with the multiplayer and stuff, and yeah, it feels like going back to an old game sometimes, especially in the multiplayer. And it's an old game that everybody is insanely good at, and I am no longer. But playing through the campaign, it held up surprisingly well, like better than I was expecting. And while it doesn't exactly feel like something that could or would be released today, it does still feel modern enough. In terms of anything else that's available out there. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Certainly something to look forward to in that regard.
Absolutely.
Sweet. All right, cool. I'm just looking at Kozi's list of games here. We'll pick one more, Kozi. Is that okay?
One more. All right. Choose
one more. And I'm going to make it Kozi's choice.
Kozi's choice. Whoa. What do
you tell me which game you're excited to talk about that we have not talked about thus far?
I do want to just briefly interject and say I am trying my best to complete Metroid Samus Returns ahead of the release of Metroid Dread. It's a little bit tough. Metroid Samus Returns is a really good game, but the entire time I'm playing it, I'm like, man, like as good as this game is, everything about it is going to be so much more improved in Dread, and it's making the process of playing through it not as fun as it could be. But I am playing that. What else do I want to talk about? What else? You know what? Let's take a second to talk a little bit about Bonfire. Earlier we were talking a little bit about Moss and how I'm, trying to get the most out of my PlayStation VR unit before, the successor to PlayStation VR hits the market. And Bonfire is one of those VR games that I've had sitting on my PS4's hard drive for quite some time. I don't remember how I originally acquired this game. It definitely was not a PlayStation Plus game. Or was it? I honestly don't know. Premise of this game is very simple. You are a interplanetary explorer that has landed on a planet that is seemingly uninhabited, or is it, and must create a bonfire alongside your robotic companion and fend for yourself in the dark of the night. It's really less so a game and more like an interactive Pixar short. At the very beginning of the trailer, which I'm currently showing off, one of the people that was responsible for this game is one of the people behind Ants, the animated movie with a Z at the end of its name. And playing through it, like, you really do kind of that kind of like Pixar kind of DreamWorks Studios like animated vibe and humor really does shine through. Not particularly difficult, because it is really much less of a game and much more of an interactive short, but I totally recommend this one as well, assuming that you can get it for a relatively cheap amount of money, because I would not like pay like $20 for it, but $5 to $10, you're good.
Well, now I'm going to the PlayStation website and looking. Does it have a platinum?
It does have a platinum. And a recommendation on the platinum. The platinum is not difficult per se, but to get the platinum easily, you would want to have 2 PlayStation Move controllers on hand.
I have 2.
Okay. I figured that you would have too, considering that like you've reviewed PlayStation VR games in the past, but I know that not everyone necessarily has access to them at a moment's notice.
They're the two for my PS3 that I bought when the PS Move came out on PlayStation 3.
Oh, there we go.
So, yep.
There we go.
All right. But I'm going to have to check out Bonfire. Yeah, that looks cool. $7. All right. Okay, cool. Let's just jump into... So, before we get into that, I do want to talk about one more game I've been playing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a game called Forza Horizon Motorsport. Or no,
Never heard
Forza Motorsport. Sorry, 7. I'm combining series here.
Oh, you mean Forza?
Forza. I'm not saying it right. Forza.
Anything like pizza?
Forza.
Can you drive a pizza?
Can you? I don't know. Maybe. Not in this game. So Forza's the more sim-heavy version of racing versus Horizon, which is...
it's the Gran Turismo killer.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens to Gran Turismo, because I have some opinions here.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that soon. That being said, so I'm playing Forza Motorsports because it's about to go away. September 15th. They can't sell it anymore. And it's going to leave Game Pass, and they can't do anything with it. So I thought I'd get some time in with it. It's pretty cheap on sale, and see if this is what I want to, like, if I want to buy it. I'm enjoying my time. Now, this round that Kozi's playing here specifically, I actually, it was called an endurance race yesterday when I did it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, it'll be like 10 or 15 minutes probably. That's how long a good endurance race typically goes. So I start going, and it's like 23 minutes.
Ugh.
23 laps. I'm like, 23 laps? I'm like, okay, these must be like the size of like Baby Park for reference.
Nope.
Like, no, they're like 2.5 minutes per run. So
like a real racetrack.
Yeah, so I ended up playing for a full hour that one track last night before I got the first place. And I've upped the difficulty on it. I'm still not great at drifting around the corners, but I've upped the difficulty on the drivatars. So they're giving me a challenge the entire way. Like, it wasn't until like lap 16 I was able to get into the front. So it wasn't like I was just leading the entire time. But I'll give the game credit for 23 laps of the same thing over and over and over again over a full hour. I was incentivized to keep doing it.
Watching some of this gameplay of yours, you're not doing a good job staying on the racing line. Are you very used to Horizon where you can drive anywhere?
So part of it's Horizon, part of it's because I play racing games very aggressively typically, and I like to hit people. And like when I'm hitting corners, I'll specifically try and hit people in the corners to block myself and direct myself in the right direction.
Them.
Yeah. So I'm still part of it's still me figuring out how to handle the turning and the drifting around the corners, because I'm struggling with that a little bit. I tend to figure it out pretty quickly. I've put a few hours into this at this point. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to do that, because I'm braking, and sometimes braking's not giving me enough, or I'm just like, I try to brake and turn and then I just slide completely in the wrong direction.
Driving's hard.
Yeah. This does give you, you can't really see it because I'm so far in, like this is almost the full hour. You can see the countdown at the top there here, but the rewind stops rewinding you at a certain point and just like takes you back.
Yeah.
It doesn't do the rewind motion.
Yeah.
So it's pretty, like, I'm enjoying it. I've got to the 15th to decide whether I'm going to buy it. I probably will just get the cheap entry level edition before it goes away. But I am surprised that Microsoft didn't try and keep the licenses, because it sounds like it's going to be a few years, like at least a year before we'll see another like Forza Motorsport. And it's not going to be 8. It's going to be a reimagining of the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take its time. I'm just surprised they didn't keep that going, like get the licensing. But we'll segue. I'll talk about it more in predictions. Anyways, I think that covers what we've been playing, guys.
Sure.
We've had a lot of stuff. Kozi's got a lot of stuff to get us caught up on, and I think we did a good job. So that being said, let's jump into topic of the show. So, as discussed, we have a PlayStation Showcase 2021 coming tomorrow. We want to make some predictions for this. It's going to be a big show. It's not titled a State of Play. This is going to be, I think, and recently with every State of Play, they've been tempering our expectations of what to expect and what not to expect. And the only thing they've told us is that PlayStation VR 2 will not be there in any fashion. So that really leaves the door wide open for what we could be seeing in this showcase. We've all been waiting for it. I think there's going to be some big hitters here. AJ, you're going to be kind of our guide of telling us how you think Kozi and I are doing our predictions.
Yeah. So in our, really quick, just in our pre-show conversations and stuff earlier today, we were, you guys pitched the idea of doing predictions for this, which is absolutely great. And what is it? I have been so out of the loop on PlayStation stuff for the longest time. Not just because, I was able to get an Xbox Series X, but mostly because I haven't been able to get a PlayStation. So I haven't really cared to look into it too much. There hasn't been too much to necessarily grab me. So I pitched the idea that I would kind of judge you guys on what predictions kind of make me the most hype and kind of gamify it. And I'm going to pick a winner. Which one of you guys wins? Which guy has the most hype predictions?
So just to clarify this then.
Yeah.
Is the goal to make you get so hyped you want to buy a PS5?
Oh, I already want to buy a PS5.
Okay.
I just am having a hard time getting excited about anything coming up. And now I haven't really, other than, scrolling through Twitter and stumbling across what people think might be there and whatnot, I haven't really I haven't seen any other predictions spoiled or anything like that. And it's been 6 months since I even listened to PS I Love You, the Kind of Funny podcast. So
I don't want to inadvertently spoil ourselves, but do we want to all agree to not make any predictions about Studio Bend, given some recent news that may or may not have come out about the studio's next game?
Yeah, this is news to me in the chat here.
For the record,
I'm fine with that.
I don't believe it. I think that this is completely ludicrous, but yeah, I'll leave it at that.
That is one of the things that I did see. So when scrolling through Twitter, so I don't know.
I hadn't seen that yet.
Can you make me as hype as the idea of that? Can you do it?
I think so.
We'll see.
Can we bring the hype?
Can you bring the hype?
All right.
Yeah, you guys. I guess I'll take the reins now. You guys want to just get into it?
Yeah,
sure.
Let's do it.
Okay. Hold up. There it is. Let's see. Kozi,
Yes.
I want you to pick odd or even.
Odd or even? You know what? Let's go odd, because you got to be odd to be number one.
Okay. Oh, and we got even.
Nobody appreciated that. Nobody appreciated that.
I got it. And I was just moving on. Nathan, that means you're up to bat, or you can just give it to Kozi. Let him go first. It's up to you.
Nah, let's set the cadence.
Okay.
I think so. Today we got a taste of a studio joining PlayStation Studios.
Okay.
Worldwide Studios, SIE Interactive, in terms of Fire Sprite being announced, who created some of the original Playroom stuff, but I believe it's called the Persistence. Am I saying that right? It's a VR title that was like pretty well. I haven't played it because I'm not a big survival horror guy, but I know in the PSVR world, it was respected quite a bit. So, and they've brought them on, I'm sure, to buffer their PSVR. But I expect potentially 2 other acquisitions tomorrow that will be announced that are much bigger than this, and I think they would want to do in a showcase.
Okay.
Number 1 is Blue Point, and I think Blue Point's a given at this point, so that's not the prediction. The prediction, though, for number 2 is Arc System Works, who have pretty much been developing games for the PlayStation. I want to say with like the majority of their focus, PlayStation's continuing to bring in the fighting game market. They own Evo now. It's a home. Like if you want to play fighting games, you really kind of need to own a PlayStation. Otherwise, you're missing out on a lot of the titles. So Arc System Works will officially join PlayStation as a studio.
That's pretty hype.
I don't really. I'm not remaining silent because I'm trying to be respectful.
Yeah.
I'm remaining silent because I really don't have anything to say.
That's fair. That's fair.
I did. Was it Arc System Works that made the Persona fighting games?
Yes, they made the Persona fighting games. They did the Dragon Ball game. They did the just most recently Guilty Gear Strive. They do the BlazBlue games, the In-Birth, Night, EXE fighting games. Like they've got they're the king of fighting games. They produce like some of the best quality stuff. I think Strive has done tremendously well, and I think it would be really awesome to see them come under the banner. And not to mention, they don't really have a studio that does fighting games.
The second Persona fighting game, Arena Ultimax, was one of the few non-Smash Bros. Fighting games that I actually really kind of dug and got into. Never played it like in a huge, like super competitive fashion, but that was a unexpectedly fun game.
I only played the original, not the Ultimax. That's a game it's too bad it's stuck on a PS3. I would like to see that game come to, like a remaster come to PS4, or at some point give me PlayStation 5 Arena,
and
Persona 5 Arena.
What was too bad, right, is both of those Arena games arrived really late in the PlayStation 3's life cycle. It was 2012 and 2014 respectively, I think, and they just barely missed that ship.
They had a full story too. It was really good, and they tied the Persona 3 characters into the story, and it's all canon.
Oh yeah.
So give me Arc System Works. Let them work on Persona 5 Arena or whatever you want. Anyways, that's my first prediction. Put it in the bank. Arc System Works will be bought by Sony and announced tomorrow.
All right. I given that, I'm not a big fighting game guy. We've had the conversations. My preferred fighting game is more of the Dead or Alive style. Which, to each their own, but I did really enjoy the Dragon Ball Fighters game. That got me back into Dragon Ball. That got me back, I rewatched all of, not all of Dragon Ball Z, but I watched Dragon Ball Z Kai alongside some of the members of Giant Bomb, and they did a whole watch-along podcast of that called All Systems Goku. It was very good if you're looking to get into Dragon Ball Z again. But yeah, I'm gonna have to say that in terms of overall hype, I think given that the Dragon Ball twist on it and the potential that has, and the potential for proper ownership that Sony can bring and the quality that they can bring to it, I'm gonna give that a 7 out of 10 hype.
Okay, sweet. Kozi, you're up.
I am up. All right. Well, let's get this one out of the way right off the bat. as you all recall, at E3 2021, seemingly every single video game developer under the sun tried to throw their own digital event, and many did not work out. One developer publisher that tried to throw their own digital event that did not work out quite so well was Square Enix, which was a bit of a shock to us because I think we all kind of enjoyed it when we were in the moment watching it, and then it was kind of a rude awakening to go to Twitter and realize how much people did not like it. Looking back in retrospect, I totally understand why people didn't vibe with it. And I don't remember who it was. But I want to say it was somebody on Podcast Beyond, maybe Max Scoville, maybe Jonathan Dornbush, who said that they think that the reason why Square Enix's E3 press conference wasn't that great was because they were deliberately withholding stuff for the hypothetical, at the time, Sony presentation later in the year. And
I remember hearing that. I think it was Dornbush.
Yeah. And I think that he or she was right on the money in that regard, which is why my first prediction is that we are going to get our first tease of... Nope. I know you all thought that I was going to say Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. I'm going to say it. Let's go with Kingdom Hearts 4.
Oh.
I think that they are going to hold off. I think
you're crazy.
They're going to hold off on showing off Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 until Final Fantasy 16 is out the door. I know they like to show stuff off early, but I think that they don't want to distract from it in that regard. But Kingdom Hearts, because Kingdom Hearts is similar, not similar, but dissimilar enough from their mainline Final Fantasy games, I think that it's fair game. I think that I can't tell you much of what Kingdom Hearts 4 will look like, but I think that it's going to be here. Might only be a tease, but I think it's going to be here.
So what if it's not Kingdom Hearts 4 and it's a weird spin-off title like Kingdom Hearts 28 over 16 divided by 3 reloaded Revengeance?
So we already did get one Kingdom Hearts spin-off game after 3, which was A Melody of Memories, or maybe it was Memory of Melodies. I don't remember. I know I just talked about it like half an hour ago. And we also got the DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3, which was called Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. Not like Remind, but RE-Mind. And certainly they can definitely throw in another big, what you want to call it, like another big spin-off in the midst there to kind of help pad things out. But
I feel like there's 2 or 3 spin-offs between every main entry.
Well, yes, but like there were a lot of spin-offs between Kingdom Hearts 2 and 3 because Kingdom Hearts 3 kept getting delayed. Kingdom Hearts 3D, the 3DS game, like I think Tetsuya Nomura went on the record of saying that he would have had the events of that game be a part of Kingdom Hearts 3, but because Kingdom Hearts 3 kept getting pushed back, he kind of spun that off into its own game.
Okay.
I have not played any Kingdom Hearts. I was not necessarily hyped for Kingdom Hearts 3 when it was actually finally going to be real and finally come out. But I was hype for all the people who were hype about it. Ever since I was in high school and Kingdom Hearts 2 came out, Kingdom Hearts 3 was like, oh, that'll be another 3 years away. And then they kept pushing it. And suddenly it's right up there with Duke Nukem Forever in terms of, expectation. So for a Kingdom Hearts 4 to just fully drop out of the blue now, after, Kingdom Hearts 3, it looked cool. I still haven't played it. For me personally, I don't think that gets me very hype. Okay. So Kingdom Hearts 4 would give me personally a 4 out of 10 hype.
Okay.
I would say.
In the Kingdom Hearts series, a common turn of phrase is, let your heart be your guiding key. And I feel like I let my heart be my guiding key. And I know it didn't work out for me this time, but I stand by my decision.
there's still a whole bunch of predictions left for you to make. So,
all right,
Nathan.
All right. I'm pulling in. This is my inner what I want.
Going for the spirit bomb. You're calling in everybody's energy here.
I need, especially with Battle Royale games being the thing, a PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale 2.
But an actual Battle Royale?
No, it still has the name Battle Royale.
Okay.
No, I loved PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale when it came out. I actually like it more than Smash. We've had these discussions before. I like the way you use the special moves to eliminate people. Mm-hmm. And like you build your special up bar. And I like the strategy to that. 100%. I don't know who's making it. I think they probably they had the original studio they built to make it was not Super Giant. They had an original studio and they had some fighting game team members. So I don't know who makes it. There's probably an outside studio like they've done with Sumo Digital and a few other things. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to see them do it right. And even if it has to be copying Smash just to get it right, let's do it and let's make this the game and bring the mascots. They seem to have better relationships. Let's get Crash in there. Let's get Cloud. Like the characters like that were missing from that first game.
Okay. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale was a good idea, and it much like Killzone tried to be the Halo killer, it tried to be the Smash Bros killer. Now it found its fans, and even I look back on that, having not played it, kind of weirdly fondly. Maybe it's just for like the time it sort of existed, and like it just the game space, so to speak, that it existed in. Mm-hmm. If they can add some of the missing characters and they can do better on that, which I think at this point, PlayStation 5 being as popular as it is and as in demand as it is, I think there could be something there, especially with like now that there's now that you have Astrobot even.
Yeah.
Throw Astrobot in there, right?
Yeah, no, I think they've got the ability to get the characters that are third party, and I think they've got a better grasp of what the first party is. PlayStation did a great job with Astrobot in terms of celebrating the lineage and the history of PlayStation.
Yeah.
And they know what's out there with all the Easter eggs and everything that was hidden in Astrobot. And I think they have that opportunity now to try and capitalize on that. And I think the PlayStation brand is hotter than it's ever been at the moment.
Yeah. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. Astrobot kind of capitalized on the history of PlayStation. All the characters and everything coming together in Smash Brothers is a celebration of the history of Nintendo. Mm-hmm. and other video game properties, right? When they get their own, like third parties in and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think that's going to be another solid 7 hype for that idea.
Cool.
Can I pitch you guys on something? This is not my second thing. This is just in relation to this. So screen goes to black, world exclusive, world premiere, whatever they say in this presentation. All of a sudden, Spider-Man's on screen. Spider-Man's swinging around. Spider-Man's doing his stuff. Oh, wow. Here we go. Insomniac's next Spider-Man game's here. Nope. Spider-Man is a playable character in Battle Royale All-Stars 2, whatever it's going to be called.
Yeah. See, they have access. They could get Spider-Man. He could be theoretically, depending when they launch this game, in the game before Spider-Man shows up in Avengers.
That's true. That's very true. Can you imagine Spider-Man in? Do you think they would do that in a Battle Royale?
Yeah, I think they could do. Wait, in an actual Battle Royale?
He's already in Fortnite, probably.
That's true.
In a PlayStation All-Stars 2. Do you think they could get him in there?
Yeah, you could do that. 100%. You could have his swinging mechanics. They could figure it out. They've had some interesting characters in the way they're set up. So yeah, no, I think that's easily doable. And try and figure it out. The other caveat is maybe it's not All Stars Battle Royale, because the original name of the game was going to be Title Fight.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they go with Title Fight. But I just talked about Arc System Works developing it. Maybe you make it more like a tag, like more standard 2D fighting game with beautiful visuals.
Maybe that's also an option. And the idea of there's also going to be another Smash clone out this year, right? The Nickelodeon one. And it doesn't look good, but I'm interested to see what they do with it, and I'm interested to see I'm interested to see all those old Nickelodeon characters, kind of come back, and Outer Toast Man beating the crap out of Reptar, So, yeah, 7 out of 10 for that. Good job.
Sweet.
Kozi.
I'm sad to say that I did not have perhaps as much time to think up this prediction as I was hoping, so I don't have a great elaborate scheme in mind of exactly what this would entail. But I do think that this one has a pretty legit shot of being an actual thing, and something that I don't think a lot of people right now are thinking of or predicting. I think that we're going to see the first tease, if not major look at Team Asobi's next Astrobot game. Astrobot Rescue Mission was great on PlayStation VR. Astra's Playroom was a great showcase for the PlayStation 5, and while we do know that PlayStation VR 2 is not going to be at this particular presentation, I don't think that excludes Astro and the Astrobots from showing up at this presentation in some capacity. And I'd like to think, considering that Astro's Playroom was not that big of a game to begin with, that Team Asobi's next Astrobot game could already be quite well underway.
The one on PS5, that was just came with the system, right? That was the Wii Sports demo of the PS5.
Oh yeah, platinum in 4 hours.
So,
and a really good platinum, a platinum you can be proud of.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and it was as big as a normal game. It just so happened to be a good tech demo and a good trip through PlayStation history, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's too early to announce something like that, or do you think it could be more closer to DLC?
I mean, it's just is it too early to announce that? I think it's one of those things where, and again, maybe my timeline is a little bit too aggressive, but I do think that I would like to believe that they already have this thing well underway ish, and I feel like it's kind of well, we have something to show. People are really hot on Astrobot. Why not go ahead and kind of show it off now, even if it is a little bit soon?
Okay. Yeah, the prospect of something new and interesting with Astrobot, even if it's just a tease, is intriguing, because people did regard that people really appreciate Astrobot as a platformer. Go ahead.
Team Asobi makes the next PlayStation All-Star Battle Royale, except it doesn't use any of the characters, except they're all Astrobots, and they all have the moves and the looks of the characters from the other games.
Astrobot All-Stars.
Astrobot All-Stars, but you'd have because in Astrobot they're all dressed up as you'd have there's the Bloodborne Hunter, so you have that Bloodborne Hunter in costume with all the Bloodborne Hunter's moves.
See, I feel like I wouldn't base an entire fighting game around the Astrobots, but I would have them be the Mii fighters of the fighting game.
Okay.
In that
That's fair,
same
that's
way.
fair. Okay.
That's fair.
You know.
Okay. So, Kozi, I need a little bit of help with this prediction here.
Mm-hmm.
Could you, off the top of your head, kind of come up with something original that they could do, something that you think would be interesting for Astrobot to do, somewhere new for him to go, something else for him to do, something you think was missing in a previous iteration?
I mean, the thing about Astrobot is, you know, it's an interplanetary, intergalactic adventure. They're going to all sorts of weird and unusual worlds. One thing that we have not yet seen in the series is an Astrobot game that has more of like an open world-esque vibe to it. And I know that like some people would argue that open world games are a little bit oversaturated, but you know, the movement controls of Astrobot are really quite fine. And I feel like there's the potential to do something really kind of special there. Have like very kind of like platformy, like Mario-esque controls in like an open world environment. I think there's something there.
Okay, so okay, here's what I'm picturing, and this is what I'm going with based on what you just sort of pitched. So Astrobot meets a fusion between No Man's Sky and Breath of the Wild.
Pretty ambitious, but sure, I'll take it.
That would get me fucking hype. That's a 10 out of 10 hype on that.
Okay. I mean, for the record, when I was conceiving that idea, I was thinking something more in the vein of like a much more expanded version of that Mario spin-off that we got earlier in the year, Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, the Bowser's Fury.
Yeah, something like that, but like even more open-ended. But if you want to stick with the more hype one, I'm fine with that.
I'm going with that.
All right.
Nathan, what's your next prediction?
Okay, so this is going to be a given, and we're going to see it there. But let's talk a bit more about it. Gran Turismo 7 is slated to be there. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I was playing Forza Motorsport 7 recently and getting my hands on for racing games. I play a lot of racing games, so I was just giving it a try. Here's the deal. Gran Turismo 7 will reclaim the top spot of racing games. And we're going to see it in the gameplay. They're going to talk about it. And here's my pitch. PlayStation is going to be the best place to play racing games. And it's going to be for one reason.
I saw this on Twitter. Go for it.
The DualSense controller adds so much when you're playing the racing game, and how the adaptive triggers push back against you and how the haptics feel. And it's like the next level of immersion in the racing games. And I feel like after playing racing games on the PS5 with that, that's missing from the Xbox series. And I think if they play their stuff right, that's going to bring this whole other level to how Gran Turismo 7 is going to feel. And I think they're going to spend a lot of time talking about haptics and the adaptive triggers. That this will become the preferred place to play racing games. And Gran Turismo 7 will be leading that charge.
So for this comparison, we're directly comparing like the potential for Forza and the best possible iteration of that on the Series X versus the best possible iteration of a Gran Turismo on the PlayStation 5. Historically, I'm not sure if you are fully familiar with the history of Forza, but historically, so the original Forza series games, in my opinion, what set them apart and what made them better is they actually went out, whether or not they had to pay more, whatever they had to do, for the licenses of the cars, they actually the fact that you can realistically damage your car in Forza in the older Forza games, but for a while you still could not do that in Gran Turismo really set it apart in terms of realism and all that. Now, I believe in the more recent ones, like whatever came, was it Gran Turismo Sport on the PS4?
Sport was the last one. The reason why I'm looking at the timeline here of releases of Gran Turismos, and they kind of had something out almost every year or every other year for a good period of time.
Yeah.
This is the longest break the series has taken. The last one came out in 2017, which was Gran Turismo Sport.
What?
And they're slated for 2022 for the next one. So they've had a lot of development time to put into this game.
Okay. Yeah, so in my opinion, like in terms of gameplay and all that, the realistic damage model in a sim game where it's more than just the racing, it's about, what happens if you mess up.
Yep.
Right? That added to the immersion and the possibilities in the past. And so your pitch here, specifically based on what's available now in terms of racing games, and just how much the controller can add to that, is actually very intriguing. Now, you also hear people potentially having like hand cramping issues because of that type of force feedback that the PlayStation DualSense controller provides. But you hear about motion sickness with VR, and I love VR, right?
Yep.
So it kind of falls into that same place for me. So what I'm going to say is that is probably a solid 8 in terms of hype potential. If it can do what Forza did with realistic damage models and apply it to the controller where it feels real in a way, then
can you imagine your car hitting a certain part, like you hitting your front corner of your car, and then feeling the haptic feedback on that portion of the controller?
Yeah. Like when you're really driving a car and you're trying to park alongside a curb and you touch the curb, you feel it. You know exactly what part of the car hit and where and the whole thing. So translating that into a controller to the point where it actually feels realistic sounds very intriguing. So yeah, I'm going to give that an 8.
3.
Do we want to
Kozi.
give hold on, before I go with my next one, do we want to give a rundown thus far of our individual predictions and scores?
I posted a link in the podcast chat to where I am keeping track of these so far. Now, there are 5 guesses, which means you guys are not quite even at the moment, but you were tied up there for a split second. So Nathan, the Arc System Works acquisition, you pitched, and I gave it a hype score of 7 for me personally. Kozi, you gave me the Kingdom Hearts 4, which unfortunately only got a 4 on the hype scale. Nathan, you said PlayStation All-Stars 2. And we talked about it, and that got you another 7. Kozi, I asked you to help me kind of come up with what the next Astrobot could potentially be. And we settled on more of an open world Breath of the Wild No Man's Sky clone. And that got me super hype and gave you a 10, which tied you both up at 14 points. And Nathan's most recent one of 8 has brought him back into the lead. Do you think, Kozi, you can beat 8 to take the lead from Nathan?
I think I can try. I think I can certainly try. Just like how Kratos in God of War Ragnarok / not Ragnarok, because Cory Barlog has indicated that it's definitely not called Ragnarok, is going to try to attempt to get his son back from the Norse gods. Yes, that's right. I think that we are going to get a nice fat little look at God of War Ragnarok, not Ragnarok. I think that it's going to be unveiled that early on in the game, Atreus, as he is known by some, is going to be taken in by the Aesir gods. Are they the Aesir? They get into how there's like two different, like, right, yes, they are the Aesir. Odin and his kin are the Aesir, and then there's also the Vanir, which are like another set of Norse gods that the game gets into. Now, here's the thing. All right, that alone, obviously pretty exciting. We want to see, Kratos kick some ass. But you know what would be especially exciting? If Kratos got a new sidekick to join him on his journey to rescue Atreus. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, certainly he would team up with somebody else from Norse mythology who we've, underrated and not particularly discussed very much, but who is truly a badass. Nuh-uh. If you remember, and, spoilers for God of War 2018 ahead, in God of War, there is a sequence in the game in which you're learning about a god called Tyr, who traveled the world and did his best to spread justice wherever he could. And during this sequence, we're introduced to the fact that there are many more pantheons that are basically out there in the world. We're introduced to the fact that there is a Japanese pantheon that exists in the world of God of War. There is a ancient Mayan pantheon. There's an Egyptian pantheon. There's also one of the characters in the game makes reference to the Celtic pantheon through some very, very deep late in the game conversations. So all this to say, I think the way that you end the showcase for God of War Ragnarok, not Ragnarok, is Kratos is down in the mud. He's beaten. He's depressed. They've taken his son. All of a sudden, a shadowy figure lends him his hand. Kratos asks, "Who are you?" And the shadowy figure says, "My name is Quetzalcoatl, and I'm here to help."
What? Is that an Aztec god?
Yes, Aztec.
Yes.
Sounds like guacamole. That's why.
And
by the way, I have no clue why this other god from this other pantheon is helping Kratos. I just think right now, if you want to create a super hype moment, that's how you do it.
That could be it. That could be it. That very well could be it. Kratos eventually probably has to go kill every god everywhere, right? And so having him team up with one. Go on.
All right, here. Let me rewrite that, because I'll admit Quetzalcoatl, kind of a weird name. No disrespect towards ancient Mayan mythology. Lots of cool stuff going on there.
Absolutely.
What if instead of a god, it's a goddess, and that goddess is Amaterasu?
That's the wolf from.
The Amaterasu that you play as in Okami is a interpretation, a wolf-like interpretation of an actual Japanese goddess called Amaterasu.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
That there would be so fucking bonkers. God of War cross Okami, like holy shit. And that holy shit. Can you imagine? But it's like the Okami from Okami. It's that one. It's not just a reimagining. Right. It's that one. Yeah. I like that. I like that idea personally. I think that would be rad. That would come so far out of left field. I think I would at the very least need to go watch an entire Let's Play of that game when that came out, if I didn't have a PS5 at the time. That would be super cool. Like hit a little wolf companion or something like that. Or better yet, it's like Twilight Princess and he turns into the wolf. You never know.
Yeah.
It's possible.
For the record, I think that Amaterasu being a wolf was something that Okami conceived for its game. I don't know if that's actually part of like Japanese mythology, but sure.
It's still super cool. I'm going to go ahead and give that an 8.
Ooh.
So we're
So
tying things up.
you tied it up. It would just be so bonkers for that to happen, right? Wow, that would be interesting to say the least, and that would get some super hype. Nathan, can you untie it? Yeah, to be fair, yes, you can untie it no matter what you say here.
Yes,
we don't get 0 points. So how much can you untie it?
Okay, so tomorrow we will get a firm release date for Final Fantasy 16.
Okay,
it's going to be in 2022.
Ooh.
We see gameplay February of 2022. It's actually coming sooner than we think. We see gameplay. It unfortunately is not turn-based whatsoever, and goes as the series has been going into a more action-based feel,
Okay.
which is going to make a lot of people excited who've played the recent ones, and is going to make me not excited whatsoever for it. But I think there will be a lot of people excited about this new Final Fantasy 16 because they're going back to a more medieval setting. And I think the fact that if we see a release date in February for this game, it'll be one of the shortest from announcements to release that Square has done in many, many years on an RPG. And not go for the years-long waits between things. And I think it was supposed to be slated for this year. So I think that's possible.
Okay, so Final Fantasy has never been my thing. But the more and more it moves into a more action-oriented direction, the more it kind of intrigues me.
Well, that's why I thought this might be a more hype one for you, because it's going more your direction. And it's leaving my direction.
And like Final Fantasy VII, if you're going to play any one, it would be that one. But the biggest reason I didn't play that last year when that came out, the remake, was because I didn't feel like turning on the jet engine that is my PS4 launch PS4. So, I just sort of kind of dealt with it and, was okay with not getting in on it. But to have a new story that kind of takes it a little more medieval, a little more action oriented, it's intriguing. And I can see it being a little bit more. Well, like I think we've seen. I don't know if we've seen any actual gameplay so much as just kind of in-engine footage.
Yeah,
right?
It's all been cinematics pretty much.
Yeah.
Was like in-engine footage. Yeah.
So if that's true, and you're, so I'm trying to think of what it might actually look like if they're going more in the direction of action, and I kind of envision something like a Dark Souls, but without the difficulty issue. In terms of style, and like you gotta focus a little bit on your timing. You gotta, land your hits just right, shoot your shots just right, just at the right time to hit it. I think this one's a little colder for me personally, but it is definitely interesting. If especially if they go a little bit more that direction, the closer they get to proper real-time action, the more intrigued I get. But then they also have to make it. I don't know what they would have to do to get me interested in Final Fantasy. Medieval setting is kind of there in a. It touches the centers of my brain that are kind of interested in like a Skyrim or a Elder Scrolls Oblivion sort of way, but obviously make the combat actually decent and what have you. I'm going to go ahead and give this a 5. 5 hype. Right in the middle of the line. 5 hype. Kozi.
Yes. What do I want to predict next? All right. I know that earlier on in our many conversations, I already brought up Spider-Man, but I'm going to bring him up again. Now, I know that it's a very, I just, went 2 for 2 with discussing two of the biggest Sony franchises out there, God of War and Astrobot, and bringing up Spider-Man and going 3 for 3 does feel a little bit trite. But hear me out on my pitch for the second big Insomniac Spider-Man game.
All right.
In Spider-Man 2018, many people we're curious as to why there was no symbiote Spider-Man costume in the game. And I believe that Insomniac Games eventually, answered people's pleas and explained, hey, eventually, at some point in the future, if we ever do have symbiote Spider-Man in the game, it's going to be because we're trying to do it right and actually really kind of like execute on that storyline in a really meaningful and cool way. Now, I feel like the way that most people are familiar with symbiote Spider-Man, and by the way, I hope that I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah. Symbiote? Yeah, I believe so.
Symbiote. Yeah, because the movie didn't quite get it right. I know that the way that most people are familiar with Venom and symbiote Spider-Man is, the Venom comes to Earth and one thing leads to another and Spider-Man becomes evil and or Venom materializes. But in the original Spider-Man storyline, where symbiote Spider-Man was a thing, Spider-Man went to space first and then came back to Earth. And so I'm thinking, why can't the sequel to Spider-Man 2018 do just that? We have had many Spider-Man games taking place in New York, and I think that it's finally time to shake things up, which is why I think that Spider-Man, the sequel to Spider-Man 2018, is going to open up with Peter Parker and many of the residents of New York being abducted in a mass alien invasion. And when Peter Parker awakens, he is going to find himself in an alien environment. And he's not going to immediately acquire the symbiote, but that will be a major plot point in the game that will be teased at the end of the trailer.
See, for Spider-Man, and if we get Spider-Man, because we just got Miles, and Insomniac's been working overtime and really been the leader for PlayStation 5.
Not literally overtime, by the way. We mean that figuratively, right?
Yes, yeah, 100%. No, they did not work any crunch. Apparently, everybody's come out from there saying we didn't have to put any extra time in. So awesome on Insomniac. But I think the most we see is a red screen with the white spider with the black start oozing down it until it's covered in black with that big white spider. That's the most we see. They tease the symbiote. I was thinking about that earlier today.
I feel like you're describing the commercials for the PlayStation 6. What? No, hold on. I got confused there.
3?
The PlayStation 3
crying baby
circa 2006 is what I meant to say. Yeah.
Like the crying baby doll or whatever.
Didn't they literally do like a bunch of like PlayStation 3 Spider-Man 3 crossover ads?
Well, no, I don't think so.
So, that I'm not sure of, but I just know that the PlayStation 3 had the Spider-Man movie font on it.
That we all remember. Hold on a second.
Based on what you've said so far,
I mean, I just want to say just very quickly, like Nathan, to your thing about it being like the Spider-Man logo with the Venom oozing down on it. Like the point I was trying to get at earlier is I just feel like we've kind of seen that kind of a tease already. And I feel like people would want a little bit more. But then again, the tease that we got for God of War Ragnarok, not Ragnarok, was pretty
A logo.
pretty simple, and people lost their minds for that. So maybe we're overthinking it.
Yeah, like I think at most this ends that presentation, and it's still way too early to do anything else. It just lets us know another Spider-Man game is coming, because let's be honest, we already know that. And it's going to have the symbiote, which if I don't want to say anything, but you might already know that too.
I like the idea of Spider-Man going to space. What kind of gameplay would that do? Like, how would that change like, what would he be doing up there? It, like, this is technically like detached from any sort of like Avengers crossover, right? So what could this Sony Spider-Man game do in space? Like, how's he getting up there?
Yeah, and that's the thing, people talk about, what makes it so fun to, play as Spider-Man or watch Spider-Man in action is the fact that he lives in New York, which is a city prime for, web slinging, skydiving, daredeviling action. But, take that and now imagine it in space, where like the normal laws of gravity don't apply, and you can build sky high buildings with your crazy alien technology.
Yeah. Okay. I like the idea of it definitely taking more from the comics and trying to, differentiate itself from any other sort of medium that it has appeared in or is popular today.
Like I said at the front, the thing is that I feel like most like movie-going, like modern Spider-Man audiences, they only know the symbiote is something that comes to Earth, not something that is acquired in space. And so I feel like this would be a easy, quote unquote, easy way to differentiate this Spider-Man story.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's an interesting idea. And that, like, that's what they would have to prove is like, well, how do you make Space Spider-Man gameplay interesting? Especially if it's set a little more in modern times with modern technology and not quite full on Avengers technology. Like, I don't know enough of the lore even to kind of get behind that. But the idea of it following a little more closely to the comic origins of other characters and what you could potentially do with that is interesting in its own. And I think Spider-Man, the idea of Spider-Man going to space, or at the very least Peter Parker going to space, something like that, could be fun. I'm going to go ahead and give that a 6. Hi.
All right.
Yeah. So, Kozi, you're in the lead. Nathan, this is your last pick.
Okay. I'm looking at what studios we haven't heard from in a while and where there's potential. And I've been thinking about a lot about this because tomorrow we need to hear something we didn't know about. There needs to be something new and something tangible that's delivered to us that gets us hyped. Yeah. And they've got a developer that they took in 2014, Pixel Opus, they bought. It came out with Entwined. Entwined was okay. It wasn't great. Then they had a much better follow-up called Concrete Genie. Which was really good. Had some unique VR stuff that you could do with the painting, but just a good tale. It was a really good stepping point, and you could see the improvement on Concrete Genie. So we will see Pixel Opus's next project tomorrow. It's another platformer, because PlayStation hasn't been, with the exception of Ratchet, really been doing much in platformers and Astrobot. And I think, I don't even know where they take it, because like Concrete Genie was so creative, but it's almost like Media Molecule was involved in the creation of like the ideas and how off the wall it is. So, and it really becomes their third like platforming pillar. No, wait. Okay, I'm changing this. They're making a new Jak and Daxter game. They're taking the franchise of Jak and Daxter, which has been dormant. It's the 20th anniversary of Jak and Daxter this year. And it's been dormant for years after Naughty Dog started the Uncharted and they moved off the PS2. And Pixel Opus is bringing it back in not a remake, but a brand new reimagining of the series. And they're bringing their shine and creativity to it to create something new.
I mean, Jak is due for a reboot, and we've already got Ratchet.
Yep.
And you mentioned Third Pillar. The other Third Pillar, who we haven't heard anything about, could be Sly Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, with Rift Apart being so well received, there's potential for Jak and Daxter. And if we get the return of Jak and Daxter in any way, shape, or form, that could open things up for Sly Cooper.
Yep, 100%.
And that absolutely should happen, in my opinion.
I think they're both due for a revisit. It's like, so Sly Cooper got a PS3 game, the fourth one, right?
Thieves Raccoonus or something like that.
Yes, a thief.
Yeah,
Thieves in Time.
Thieves in Time.
Yeah.
So, I definitely could see that, and I think they used Pixel Opus after creating this excellent platformer in Concrete Genie to kind of put their stamp on it and create their own new reboot version of Jak and Daxter. And that does lead the way to bringing back potentially Sly Cooper as well.
I am currently looking at the Wikipedia for Sly, and I know you pitched Jak and Daxter, and on the Wikipedia they have a main series release timeline.
Yep.
So it came out in 2002, 2004, 2005. 2010 was the Sly Collection. 2011 was PlayStation Move Heroes. 2012 was PlayStation All Stars. 2013 was Thieves in Time, and then all the way down at the bottom, 2022, somebody put in Sly 5 ?
Oh, that's interesting.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. That somebody would put that there. So there must be some sort of rumor going around of that, or it's Wikipedia and somebody just decided to put that there to hopefully, I don't know, stir some shit. But the idea of it's not going back to the well. It's
reviving dormant franchises.
It's reviving dormant franchises, and the people who love those are grown-ups now, and will want to feel nostalgic about those things, and will want to go back to those old things. I know I do.
And here's the thing about when things are revived, like, and I've seen this with cartoons in a lot of cases too, they're always better because they understand more. Like, so DuckTales was fine. We have DuckTales in like a revered light because we watched it when we were kids.
Yeah.
The new DuckTales that is made by people who watch DuckTales, is so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can get a Jak and Daxter or a Sly Cooper by people who grew up playing those games, and they know what worked.
Who know the good things about it and can focus on those rather than breathe some new life into that idea.
Mm-hmm. There's been a long enough like hiatus between them at this point to be able to have that breathing room. Specifically, like, when's the last new Jak and Daxter game we got? Because it's 2014 for Sly. And if you don't include the collections, Jak and Daxter, The Lost Frontier?
Yep.
Oh, it's
That's
a
the
PSP
one.
game.
Yeah.
So
And so was Daxter, a PSP game, I think, as well,
Yeah.
right?
So if you're talking the
2006.
mainline series, Jax 3 came out in 2004.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And like what, I don't even know what The Lost Frontier is or was about, or if it even had any good reception or anything like that. But
Yeah, who made it?
like reception, it received, okay, GameSpot gave it a 7.5 out of 10.
Mm.
So
It seems
Okay.
like sevens. It's a 7.
yeah.
So
yeah.
but I think there's potential, whether you're talking Sly or Jak and Daxter, like Ratchet and Clank's done so well. You hand it off to a studio who you know can handle it and let them do what they need to do with it.
Of all the games that have gotten kind of like they've gone back to the well on and like tried to revive and stuff like that, I feel like Jak and Daxter is definitely one that they absolutely need to. So I'm going to go ahead and say that that's a good 7 on the hype meter.
Okay.
Okay,
Kozi, bring us home.
let's do it.
I was spending a little bit of time looking through my phone because I was trying to find an appropriate developer that I could stick to this particular project that I'm going to pitch, but I wasn't able to find one in time. So this is going to be a little bit by the seat of my pants, but I'm going to try my best.
Do it.
Okay, let's just get this out of the way. Resistance is back.
Oh
At
boy.
long last, everyone's favorite PlayStation 3 first-person shooter series is coming back after frothing vocal demand, from across the entire globe. And it is going to be completely unlike any other first-person shooter series that has ever been known to man or chimera alike. And I know that it sounds like I'm adding a lot of words into my sentence right now because I'm deliberately trying to pad time out so that I can think up exactly how it's going to be so utterly different from anything that mankind and chimera alike has experienced before. But I can absolutely assure you with great certainty that this isn't the case.
I do have a pitch for Resistance.
Go ahead,
for it.
Nathan. Help him out.
Yeah.
Help
Okay.
him out.
So number one,
These will still be Kozi's points, but help him out.
the developers right in your face. Insomniac has multiple teams. They love the franchise. Insomniac's working on Resistance. Number two, it's not first person anymore. It's now third person cover based shooter. I think there is a first person game being developed. I still think it's Killzone. I still think it's done by Guerrilla, because Guerrilla has two teams and they're working on something. It's that or SOCOM. But I think that Insomniac is working potentially or on the new Resistance game, and it'll be a third person over the shoulder camera versus a first person view.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, like, to dispel all illusions right now, like, I would be honestly, genuinely really into a Resistance remake, but I can't quite conceptualize what it could be other than just like a straightforward, like, kind of continuation of the exact style of game 1, 2, and 3 were, which perhaps that speaks to the prospects of something like this actually happening, or perhaps it speaks to how small-minded I am. It would be cool to have a Resistance game that you could play kind of post the events of Resistance 3, where humanity is slowly building itself back up. But I understand kind of concerns that such a premise is perhaps a little bit too similar to something like The Last of Us, for example. But I don't know.
Okay. Well, yeah. Once again, going back to not the well, but reviving an old franchise that maybe could have had done a little better. I think Resistance. There's potential there to in the same vein that Wolfenstein kind of came back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You could reimagine it with a more modern
take on it. I think
it. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say Insomniac's grown as like a team in storytellers.
Yeah.
When you look at what they've done with Spider-Man, with Miles, even with Ratchet, and how they infused the story into Rift Apart. And I think there's potential for them to take what they've learned in storytelling and really apply that to the Resistance branding. They would have to be a full reboot from scratch.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that the Resistance series does have going for it is that those games don't take place in modern times. The first one begins in its alternate histories equivalent of World War II, and then it kind of goes from there. So, earlier I was saying, oh man, there would be a lot of similarities to The Last of Us, but, if they kind of place it in, they start us off in the right time zone, it could actually make for quite a radically different experience in terms of, dealing with that more kind of retro future kind of technology stuff.
Yeah, it definitely.
This has just become us, all three of us, trying to figure out what the next Resistance game could be instead of me predicting it.
That might not be a great sign for Resistance.
Yeah, maybe. I would still be interested to see what the hell happens. Mm-hmm. What the hell they could do, right? Would it be good? I don't know. But there's potential.
Let me pitch you one last thing before you lay down your verdict. Okay. Nathan brought up, they're bringing back, he thinks that they're most likely bringing back Killzone. I think that's a pretty sure bet. But what if they decide, let's go all in. Let's give the fans of our PlayStation 3 era shooters everything that they could ever want. It's Resistance cross Killzone, where it's a crossover of the two franchises. It's revealed that the Killzone universe takes place in the far future after the events of Resistance 3, and at long last, the people of the Killzone universe have found the home planet that the Chimera originally came from, and that we got to see a brief glimpse of during Resistance 2 and Resistance 3, and now both sides are out for blood.
I mean, if there's any way to improve upon the idea of Killzone, it's to make it more like Resistance, I suppose.
I actually like Killzone 3.
Killzone 3 is fun. It was we've never really talked about Killzone on this podcast, have we?
No. I think we have, actually. I think it came up a couple or were we talking about platinum trophies at the time?
Could be. I don't know. I played Killzone 3 with the sharpshooter attachment with the moves, and it was actually quite fun to play with that.
Yeah.
Killzone 2 was that game was trying to be a kind of serious sci-fi first-person shooter, and I feel like it kind of missed the mark. It was trying to be that first opening mission of Killzone 2 is almost Saving Private Ryan-esque in that it's sort of a complete shit show and things don't get much better from there. Killzone 3, by comparison, was a goofy, fun sci-fi action game with all sorts of crazy giant robots and stuff that was kind of at odds tonally from the second game, which is why a lot of people did not like it. But I think if people went back now and played the two side by side, they would prefer 3 to 2, but that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I will never forget the big controversy over that first reveal of Killzone 2. So, you know, Killzone is probably tainted in my mind ever since then. But Resistance, on the other hand, I think there's still, in a Wolfenstein-like fashion, I think there's still a way to kind of bring it back and to modernize it. I'm going to go ahead and give this a 7.
All right. So
7.
I think that is you win, Kozi.
Where do the two of us stand? No,
Well,
that all is said and done.
Yeah. Okay, so Nathan, you posed that Arc System Works would be acquired by PlayStation, and I gave you 7 points. Kozi, you posed Kingdom Hearts 4, and I gave you 4 points for that. PlayStation All-Stars 2, we talked about it. That's another 7 points for Nathan. The next Astrobot, we kind of collaborated on an idea there, and I really kind of took it over and ran with it and got myself hype with 10 points. But those are all yours, Kozi. Gran Turismo on PS5 got 8 points for Nathan. God of War Not Ragnarok got 8 points for Kozi. Final Fantasy 16 release date got 5 points for Nathan. Spider-Man in Space got 6 points for Kozi. The Return of Jak and Daxter got 7 points for Nathan. And The Return of Resistance got 7 points for Kozi, leaving Nathan with 34 points and Kozi with 35 points out of a possible 50.
Whew. That was real close. I
squeaked it out there, Kozi.
Yeah.
Good job.
Wow. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I'm going to pat myself on the back right there.
You did it. I think I think you guys, if any of these come true, and I don't mean like, at 100%, it's got to be Breath of the Wild and No Man's Sky together or else nothing. I think you guys should get an extra point. Not that we're going to ever revisit this or anything like that.
No.
But, we might talk to Mitch about it. We might talk to Alex about it at some point. But if any of these are correct, come back to this list and give the appropriate points. And 1 point if it's correct, and 1 point if it's not. Whatever we're talking about here. And yeah, then you can find out who really won.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
Nathan, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Okay. Well, with that, we have had our PlayStation Showcase 2021 predictions finished up. I had a lot of fun there. I think we had some crazy wild things. The honest truth is, I think 95% of that won't happen. But we'll see. They're all about hype. So hopefully we are hyped tomorrow with these actual announcements. So I'm looking forward to that. That being said, we're going to start wrapping up the show now. So I just wanted to go down to my preamble here. But thanks for tuning in to Press YYZ. If you enjoyed the broadcast, be sure to follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube, and rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. You can also check us out on Twitter at Press YYZ and slide into our Discord at invite.gg/Press YYZ to keep the conversation going. Thanks for playing.
Take care, everybody.
Peace out.